Hey, folks, this clip is brought to you by Farm Bureau Health Plans. For better coverage, better rates, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ. That is Farm Bureau Health Plans. And now let's talk quickly about this new recruit for Tennessee football. Marcus Gorey Jr. is from the state of Tennessee, Bradley County, I believe. I think that's sort of in between Knoxville and Chattanooga. He is a three-star player who I think is listed on most sites as an athlete, but is projected to be a defensive back. Cornerback was what I saw primarily. And that's great. Any defensive pickup that Tennessee makes right now is great. But I think the main thing that I saw that is intriguing is that multiple services that I read up on this kid think that he will, by the time that Tennessee's recruiting class is kind of signed, sealed, and delivered, he will end up being higher than a 3-star, and he'll sort of improve his stock. So, what do you think about this, Zach?
Yeah, I think this is a really underrated pickup. I know we say that a lot. I mean, every 3-star we kind of call underrated, right? I mean, that's kind of what we do, what everybody does. But I really do think this is an underrated pickup. He's got a decent offer list. Kind of alluded to, he'll probably be rated a little bit higher. Like programs like Auburn, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ole Miss have been after him as well and offered him. But the thing that I was really excited about, one, he's a top 10 player in the state. I feel like top 10 players in the state, you need to get most of those guys, even, that they just, you don't want to go see them excel somewhere else. That's really hard to swallow when that happens. But the biggest thing that excited me, the 24/7 Sports scouting report on this kid mentioned that they think he has the athleticism and has shown the ability to cover guys in the slot, to kind of cover some of those tight ends, some of guys that go over the middle. I mean, that's been a problem for Tennessee defensively, is stopping those slants, anything over the middle. That's been a real weakness for Tennessee. So if this guy, he kind of has that as a strength, man, that would be huge. That's exactly what Tennessee needs in the secondary. Obviously, they have secondary in general needs to play better at a higher level than it did this past season, but it really feels like this is the type of player that Tennessee's been missing. Obviously, you got to hope that he lives up to potential, gets developed the right way at Tennessee, but I think he has the potential to be a player that really makes a difference for them on the defensive side of the ball in an area where they've really struggled and has caused them to lose a couple of games that maybe they shouldn't have over the last 2 years, especially in 2021.
Farm Bureau Health Plans has been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years, and much has changed in Tennessee over the years, but some has stayed the same. Farm Bureau Health Plans has always valued personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision. For better coverage, better rates, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. That is fbhp.com/ATOZ. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Yeah, I kind of love a 3-star defensive back because Tennessee is
Cam Sutton.
exactly. Tennessee has had some really nice examples of guys like this over the years where they come in and you can kind of find with guys like that are a little underrated. They sort of have a chip on their shoulder. They come in, they work really hard, and they step up, and they can end up staying a full 4 years, being team leaders, and so I love that. Obviously, he's 2024. You're not going to see him for a couple of years, but you had with Heupel so far, you've had a set of guys that they have recruited early, that they've gotten in on early and gotten commits from that have ended up turning into much more highly rated recruits. The one from this last class you really look at is Nathan Laycock, wide receiver. They got in really early with him, and he ended up projecting ultimately kind of the funniest thing that probably happened in that recruiting class. Tennessee fans so badly wanted Carnell Tate, and then the guy that they ended up actually getting, Nathan Laycock, finished ranked higher in the player rankings on 3 than Carnell Tate did. So those things can happen.
Like that, you're trying to get Big Ten Jeff riled up, aren't you?
yeah. I mean, what can I say? He's here, and I gotta take jabs at him every time I can. But I like pickups like this, under the radar. Hopefully, a scrappy dude who can be like I said, play with a chip on his shoulder. I like guys like that. And sure, you want to start getting those 5 stars and things like that, but ultimately, I think where Tennessee is at currently, where you're battling against Alabama, you're battling against Georgia. I mean, they're 2 of the closest schools to you, and that's your direct competition as far as recruiting goes. Auburn, Clemson, everybody else that's right there with you. I think one of your best bets right now is finding these under the radar guys where you're kind of beating them to the punch and going, we think this guy will be a 4-star, just like the guys that are going to Georgia and Alabama. And he's just not showing it yet. And so, hey, I hope that is what happens. And also, it's a nice in-state recruit too. We didn't even talk about that part of it, but I like that piece too. That he's coming from just right down the road.
Yeah, I think you're really seeing that this staff trust their evaluations, and so far, like you mentioned with the receiver, there's been a few players that they've got in early on the process. They end up being rated a little bit higher than you'd expect, so that shows you they have good evaluation skills. Because trust me, yeah, these guys are looking at the recruiting rankings. I know they say they don't. They're lying. They want to see where these guys are ranked. They want to see where they're ranked, how everybody views them. I mean, that's part of the job of coaching. You're not ever going to admit it, but they look at it. But that's not what they go, and that's not what they're offering guys based off of. It's their own evaluations, it's their own film work. They're not trusting somebody else's work, and so far, it appears that they've nailed most of these.
Yeah, they really have. So hopefully that continues. Not a whole lot else to say about it. The football team in general is kind of in this limbo right now, in between the recruiting period, or sort of that open recruiting period, so to speak, is closed, and you haven't reached spring practice yet. But spring practice right around the corner, coming right up.
Probably about a month away.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the exact dates yet. I don't think that they've released them. But I would imagine it's going to be probably the last 2 weeks of March leading into April. When the spring game is
April 15th, I believe.
okay, so maybe the last week of March. And
depends on how spring break falls. Sometimes they'll start spring
that's true.
practice a little early because they know they're going to take that week for spring break off. So I would guess maybe like mid-March it might start. And that gives you a month to get all the practices in if you have spring break interrupting it as well.
Either way, it is closer than you might think. And obviously, we will talk about that when it comes. But another thing that we wanted to talk